Alright, so now we're going to focus on the specular, and the specular is what's going to give it the highlights and basically distinguish between like metal, plastic, concrete, and how the surface reacts to light. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. A lot of the times you'll want to start from the very beginning and work your diffuse, specular, and your gloss together, since they all complement each other and they all react, and help each other out. So you want to have some decent contrast in these. Uh, this one still probably doesn't have enough contrast in between the metal area, the painted surfaces, and the rubber. So I could definitely push this a lot further and definitely leaves a lot of room for improvement. But um, we'll go with what we got here, and you can see here the shadow has now been the dirt and stuff has been basically darkened up a little bit, and that's because we don't want that to be as reflective or as bright as the painted surface, and the dirt's going to react differently than the painted metal will. So doing this, I changed the colors up a little bit. The overlays here, the edge highlight's going to get applied a little bit more than before, and that's because we want it to catch light a little bit better around the edges, and hopefully it'll look really nice once it's in the 3D object and bring it to life a little bit more. So, but let's go over the first things here. So we've got base mats, and basically I just started by copying my diffuse up and making a copy of it and just renaming it specular and going through, and you'll have the files to look at, but you can see that there's not much different here than prior, and a couple of the colors have changed. I changed the paint underneath to be more of a gray instead of the tan, and that's because it's going to be basically, I looked at it as like being a primer layer and metal. So the bare metal underneath will be pretty much just white or really light gray, and that'll be basically the areas where the paint has been rubbed off down to the bare surface. And you can see just a little bit of, if I get in here a little bit, you can see it's a little bit darker on the edges, and that'll help sell it so it looks like the primer layer's been chipped away a little bit and revealing the metal underneath. So there's not too much to explain with this. Just you want to really build up your contrast to help sell it. And once this is done as well, we do the same thing we did with the diffuse and make a copy and flatten and sharpen it. And you can see here we go. You can see the difference between the two, and that's just going to help bring over 3ds Max a little bit, and that's just going to help. You can see the light catching it, and you can see the scratches, the surface stuff right here, and this is zoomed in really close. I mean, chances are you'll never get this close to it in a game, but you can see the light catching the edges here, and it looks pretty nice. Feels pretty good. Looks like a metal surface. And so that was the specular map, and definitely want to read up and try to understand how different surfaces react, and do a lot of tests. Just work on some thing that is really helpful is even creating like a box or a sphere and just trying to texture that to look like metal, or look like concrete, or look like wet concrete, or brushed metal, aluminum, carbon fiber. I mean, there's so many different materials, and just doing some practices like that and some studies on materials will really help you start to understand how all the maps will work together, and how can I paint realistic metal, how can I paint gunmetal, and it's the small subtleties in those that will really help you start to push your pieces. And one of the best things, one of the things that's really important in portfolios and game industry stuff is great textures. I mean, if you're a good texture artist and material artist, you'll definitely go really far. And I mean, it seems like it's be one of the easier things, but it's definitely one of the most challenging levels, or one of the most challenging skills that I find, and it's always something that pushes me a little bit harder than say the modeling. So do some of those studies, and just learn how the different maps will work together and help each other out.